Hello there. Welcome back to Empower Your Soul. I'm going to talk this episode. This is more of a story episode of Spirit is here, of my crazy weekend away at the Omega Institute in Rhinebeck, New York. Now, I went to go see Suzanne Geisman, however you say her name. She is a pretty famous evidential medium. She has several books through Hay House. She also comes from a very non-traditional background where she was a commander in the U.S. Navy. Her daughter had passed, and so she's now I would say a pretty prominent evidential medium that has classes, that has tours, and specifically I went to go see her for a Message of Hope tour. I got cued into Suzanne probably about a year ago when one of my lovely friends, Kate, told me about Suzanne. She actually traveled up to go see the location that's in the book, The Wolf's Message. And so that's how I kind of started to learn about Suzanne. And I thought it was an amazing story. And so I've been kind of following her a little bit here and there after learning about her. So needless to say, Spirit has told me over and over again that I need to attend more in-person events. This is my quote-unquote in-person year. I'm sucking at it so far, by the way, because I love sitting at my house doing the readings and doing the groups and doing the channeling, because it's comfortable and I can run out and do laundry in between all. You know how it goes when you work from home. It's a lot more efficient in my day-to-day life. So in stepping forward and trusting Spirit that I'm supposed to be in community, they decided that I should go to this weekend at Omega. They were adamant about it. Now, I was on the fence. I was like, I don't know. And they were like, go. And I was like, what? Why? Why would I go there? And they said, go. And the logic, the reasoning in my brain was, why would I go? This is not even a mediumship oriented demonstration. It's not for learning. When I go to things, I tend to want to go to expand my tool set, expand my knowledge, gain more wisdom. And this entire weekend was all related to how to connect to your own departed loved ones if you're not a medium. And so for me, I'm like, I don't even know why you want me to go. And they kept sending Suzanne's name to me over and over and over again. I mean, even through conversations I was having with people that don't even live in the area, don't even know that she's touring. And so it finally got to the point of ridiculousness where I was like, and mind you, this is like 3 days before this event starts. 3 days before the event starts, I'm like, fine, I will drop this money on this program and travel if it's drivable for me. That's why I can do this 3 days in advance. If you give me her name one more time in the next 24 hours. And I shit you not, Spirit had me go back and cut out a couple of things I said in the last podcast episode. It's literally the first thing I've ever cut out. It wasn't value add. So they said, go cut this one line out. And I'm like, okay, I'll go cut this one line out. So I went back and I cut, in searching for that one line that I cut out of my own mouth were the words Suzanne Geisman on Thursday's podcast. Did anyone catch that last week? So not only did they send me her name one more time, they sent it from my own freaking lips. Okay. That's how adamant they were about it. And then I went to go shut down all my browser tabs. And then apparently I had searched for her thing and it was literally there highlighted. Her name, Suzanne Geisman, Messages of Hope, Omega, Rhinebeck, New York. And I was like, oh, okay, I guess I'm going. So I bought my dorm room at Omega. If you haven't been there, it's really cool. It's pretty rustic. It's fabulous. So it's a lovely location. It's a lovely little metaphysical, spiritual getaway weekend. So I booked the tickets. I got everything together, packed, and arrived there on Friday afternoon for this weekend-long event. And the events for the weekends at Omega start on Friday night. Saturday, there's a morning and afternoon, and then they had an evening session with Suzanne to watch her movie about Wolf's Message. And then it ends Sunday morning with a quick little half day. And so I'm just sitting there. I drive there. I get some Chick-fil-A on the way. If you know, you know, I'm obsessed with Chick-fil-A. So I get some Chick-fil-A on the way. By the way, I see that they're hiring directors. So I now know that I have a backup plan in case this mediumship thing fails. Thank you, Chick-fil-A. I stop and get gas on the way. And so I get to Omega. I unload my luggage from the car. I go and check in. And it's probably around 5:45 or so, and the session starts at 7, and I had Chick-fil-A on the way so I can skip dinner. So my plan was to just go a little bit early, like sit and meditate on the land and just get cozy with the energy of the campus. So I'm sitting there in line waiting for my turn to get the key to my room, and I look up and there's a woman walking by. And I look back down and then I look back up. Spirit's like, "Nope, look again." And I look at her and I'm like, I know those glasses. She has very distinct glasses. And so I'm sitting there like, it's really weird. And I sit for a minute, get my key. No, I don't know that person. Who on earth would I know at Omega, right? People travel from all over the country to come here. Like, I don't know anyone that's here. I've never met anyone I known here. I'm like, I'm going to ignore it. So I pack up. I get my key, I walk up the hill, I bring my stuff into my room, get settled down, and I start walking down the hill, and I was like, I can't shake that. So I go onto my community site and I message a student of mine because I'm pretty sure this is my student. And I'm like, hey, this is going to sound wild. Are you at Omega this weekend for Suzanne's weekend retreat? And I just send it and I leave it there. And then I start moseying down to the gift store and I, look in there and I grab, coffee at the coffee place next door. And I make my way into the room where this event is being held. And mind you, I'll get to that in a second. And so Spirit is, I literally am like, okay, where am I going to sit? Where do you want me to sit? And they showed me front right corner, front right. So I walk down the middle aisle. This is about 40 minutes or so before Suzanne's thing. So it's about 6:20 at night or so. Walking down the aisle, I see some stuff in the front 2 rows. I see like a pink water bottle there in the aisle of the second row. And so I'm like, oh, okay, so this row, got it. So I kind of scoot right and then I choose like 3rd or 4th seat in and I kind of put my stuff down. But, ever the go-getter that I am, I see that the seats in front of me are open in the front row. And I'm like, fuck yes, I want that leg room. So I scoot up to the front row, put my stuff down. And then I think I just sat there for a while. And as I'm sitting there, I check my app and I see a response from my student. And she says, "Are you kidding? Yes. Oh, that is so weird. I am at Omega. Are you here?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm here." And I'm like, I'm in the first row at Suzanne Geisman. This is probably about 15 minutes before the show starts. I'm like, I'm in the front row. I've already made friends with all the women that are now sitting around me. And she's like, "Oh my God, I'm in the front right too." So she comes running in, not really running, but she comes coming. I see her kind of walking up because I'm looking for her and I'm like, where is she? I don't see her yet. So she must have put her stuff down and gone. Cool. So then eventually I see her walking up the aisle and I'm like, oh my God, it's you. And so mind you, this is my amazing, lovely student. I hope you don't mind me naming you Diane. I'm going to name you. This is my amazing, lovely student, Diane, that I actually taught beginner's mediumship to. She's from the DC area. Never met her in person before, did our beginner's mediumship virtual, and she's now in the mediumship mastermind, which is virtual as well. So I've never seen her in person. So it was so wild. It was so wild. So she drove the 6 or 7 hours up from DC to go to this event this weekend. And I see her whipping around the corner and I give her a big hug. She gives me a big hug. And both of us, our minds are blown because I didn't tell anyone I was going this weekend. I had this inkling to like reach out to the mastermind to see who was coming just in case, or like who's there. Didn't do it. She thought about me the entire ride up. Didn't do it. Didn't reach out to me. And then all of a sudden I got there, and wouldn't you know, that pink water bottle that was on the aisle in the second row, that was hers. Spirit knew exactly where to sit me so that even if I didn't reach out to her, I would have noticed her and we would have connected. So that is my wild story about how my student and I accidentally met at Omega this weekend. Don't worry, we're not done. This is only the beginning. This is going to be a long one. Advanced apologies. So not only am I blown away, I'm like, holy shit, I can't believe that my student is here. It was such an amazing weekend because not only did I have the opportunity to experience Suzanne and how she presented the information to the audience, all 200 of us in the audience, about how to connect with departed loved ones, but then I got to like honestly like be there with my student slash friend, like answering questions, doing what I do in public, like doing these readings for people, because we're on Omega's campus. Everybody here is into mediumship, so I know it's a safe space for me to be like, "Hey, I'm a medium. I feel somebody with you. Would you like me to give you this reading?" So it was really fun to kind of see all of these dynamics all at once as a teacher, having a student with me, seeing, hearing the perspectives of the people that attended that don't know, that maybe love mediumship but don't do it. And so it was just this really wild weekend of all of these different perspectives. So let me talk maybe about a couple of the stories that happened that weekend. And I have my notebook here because I have to write this stuff down because there was so much stuff that happened this weekend. So first of all, the whole point of this weekend for me, besides meeting lovely Diane, was that I asked my team, I'm like, I don't know why you want me there. And I said, I am at your service this weekend. You tell me where to go. You tell me who to talk to. You tell me where to sit. You tell me what to do. So I 100% put me to the back this entire weekend, besides going shopping probably twice because they have such a great store, and let Spirit lead me into where I want to go over and over and over again. And so this was a really cool experiment for me all weekend, to just let Spirit literally take control and take charge. And it did not disappoint. So one of the first instances of feeling like, besides Spirit telling me where to sit and having Diane sitting right over there, like I probably almost sat next to her, right? That was wild. But we had gone out for grabbed lunch the next day after the first session, after the morning session. And so we're talking, we're in the line. It's like cafeteria style. You get your food, you get your water. And then I'm like, I think we need to sit outside. So we go outside, and there's big, huge round tables on the patio. It's communal eating. You're guaranteed to sit with people that you don't know. So I'm looking, and Spirit's kind of pointing me left. So I'm like, oh, let's go down here. Let's go to the left. Let's go sit. There's a couple empty seats over there. And I have my eye on probably the fifth table down. And so I'm walking. And then the fourth table down, poor Diane's in front of me, still walking. Spirit literally makes me scoot hard right. And I was like, what the fuck? So I was like, okay, this woman had her shit down in one of the chairs. And I'm like, apparently I'm sitting here. Sorry, Diane, come on back. I wanted to sit here. So I sit down. The woman next to me moves her stuff. And it ends up being this table full of EMDR students that are there for an entire week. And so, it always starts, what are you here for? Which class are you in? Which class am I in? So we start exchanging. They start talking about an EMDR. And then they're like, well, what are you here for? And we say Suzanne Geisman's Messages of Hope weekend. And they're like, oh, that's the medium, right? And then she gets into, like, the woman at the table is like, oh, I really love medium. That's so cool. I love mediumship. I've never had a reading. I love it. And I'm like, oh, it's really interesting because and she asked why you're here. And I'm like, I'm actually a medium. I don't really know why I'm here. I'm just here because my team told me to be here. That's the weirdest way to start a conversation. I guaranteed conversation starter at Omega. What do you mean your team told you to come here? It's literally how most people followed up when I answered that. And they're like, wait, you're a medium? And I'm like, yeah. And this is the inevitable. Those of you that are mediums, it's the inevitable of, what, are you picking up anything on me? Do you just see dead people all the time? And the answer is always, well, for me, it's no, because I'm not really tapping into your departed loved ones unless you want me to. So I tend to wait for the invitation, and then they'll come in and I can read you. And she's like, oh, it's so cool. Are you picking up anything for me? I'm like, well, you didn't ask. And she's like, can I ask? I'm asking. And I was like, okay, let's do this. So I ended up reading, highlighting, I think her uncle I can't remember exactly, but her uncle that was there, somebody else. I think we talked to her grandfather. And then we talked to a younger friend of hers that had passed early on, it had been a while. And so I'm doing these little tiny, like probably 5-minute short readings of, hey, this person's around you, this person's around you, this person's around you. And then I noticed there was somebody else. And there was like, it was just really interesting because I was like, none of these are who you actually want to talk to. And she's like, no, that's not who I was hoping to hear from. And I was like, yeah, but your grandmother's here too. And she's dressed all in red. And she's like, oh my God, my grandmother loved red. And it was really cool having my student, Diane, student friend. I'm trying to put those two words together. It's not going to work. I'm just going to call you friend Diane, because you are a friend. So I have my friend Diane next to me, and she's picking up on stuff for the grandma too. So I look at her, I'm like, what are you getting? And so we're kind of like going back and forth reading this woman. And it was so cool to be able to like sit with my student friend and be like, hey, what do you got? This is what I got. Right. And so it was this really, really quick little reading for this woman, blew her socks off, which is so funny. Because I think when you least expect it is when it's the most fun with this work. I have to tell you, it is the most fun. And then the woman next to me starts, hey, I'm training to be medium. I'm in a psychic class. And then she's like, who's this person? I think she said Donna. And I was like, oh, it's your aunt. And she's like, yeah, what's going on? And I was like, oh, that's not good. It's nefarious. What's going on in the family? There's question marks about what to do. So we went into that whole thing, read her at the table. Ended up meeting up with that woman a couple times over the week, but it was just so cool being able to like be fully immersed in being myself all weekend, right? And being able to be me as the teacher, me as the medium, me as the friend, and getting to know people, and just like walking around being like, hey, I'm a medium. Can I give you, I'm feeling something. I sound like a scammer on TikTok. I feel something in your energy. What's your zodiac sign? No, just kidding. I didn't ask for zodiac signs because I don't understand it. So that's how kind of the weekend went. So did those readings, ended up, here's one of the really wild ones. I hope you don't mind me really just talking about how crazy this weekend was. We got paired up in breakout groups with people, so that all of the people in Suzanne's group were, hang on, I'm pausing because Spirit is in my ear talking. So we had to partner up with the psych. There's two different stories I want to go. I'm like, which one do you want me to do? We're going to talk the psychic one first. So we paired people up with the psychic one, right? We paired people up with like, what signs are you seeing? And it was really cool because I was able to not only, give people these mini readings that were really cool. And it's like a little bit cheating because all these people don't know how to do this. And I'm like, hey, what's with the song Everything's Gonna Be All Right by Bob Marley? She's like, I have a shirt. I wanted it to be here. It's arriving at my house today. So it's just really funny to kind of get these like little intuitive hits and let them know their loved ones are with them, right? Their loved ones are with them, which is what they wanted to come for. And then later on, like halfway through the day or 3/4 of the way through the day on Sunday, it was Sunday. Diane and I were laying outside because there's a lot of energy, 200 people in a room, all grieving, all wanting to connect with their departed loved ones. We would go outside during break and literally just take our flip-flops off, our sandals off, and lay in the grass. So we're sitting there like laying in the grass, shoes off. And I'm just like, wow, it's so interesting why all these people are here. And Diane makes a comment and I make a comment. And then a woman comes down, lays next to Diane, and she's like, I'm here for my health, my physical health. Immediately piqued my interest. And I sat up and I was like, say more. And she said she had all these lung issues. She has scarring in her lungs and she can't figure out why. And the doctors can't figure out why. And the scarring is getting worse and worse. And she's on medication that costs her insurance company like $55,000 a month, and it's not working. And so she's trying to shift into more homeopathic doctors, and she's just trying to understand what is going on. No one can explain what's going on. And she's talking about all these different therapies she's tried. Nothing working. Yeah, I got a hit. I didn't say anything because I was waiting. I was like, oh, should I? And I was like, I'll wait. You give me a sign, Spirit, if you want me to talk about it. And then Diane sits up and she's like, it's really weird, but have you thought about getting a past life reading? And I was like, thank you, Diane. That was the sign. So I ended up giving her this past life reading because what I ended up seeing in my mind was her running into a burning building. And I don't know why I'm going into, I hope you love these stories because this has been 20 minutes of me talking about my weekend. This woman going into a burning building to save her daughter in a past life. And I'm like, I know that past lives are parallel. I know that they're not actually past and everything's in the present moment, but this feels like a very recent one to you. This energy feels very strong and raw and real to me, which makes me feel like it was more recent in terms of some of the lives that you've chosen to live. And so, and I provided not only this past life reading, this little mini reading with her about, hey, the scarring in your lungs is because you ran into a burning building to save your daughter. I don't think either of them made it in that life, but then I was able to back it up with evidence of this life. I'm like, so you would have like a daughter that's in her mid 30s, right? And she's like, yeah. And I said, and you are really close to her. And she said, yeah. I'm like, you two are best friends. I see you have a son too, but your daughter, you and her are really, really, really close. And you're afraid that you're going to lose that connection with her in this lifetime too. And she's like, yeah. And so I'm like, I would give you a reading. She didn't want my card. That's totally fine. I said, but I would get curious about this past life stuff. It can be real. I said, but it's not meant to cause harm, but maybe understanding and seeing what happened in this lifetime will give you this energetic peace of mind because that energy carries over from a past life to your current life. It can. So why don't you get curious, do a reading about this lifetime where there was a fire and you were trying to save your daughter, because that is still affecting your body and your lungs, and see if that helps where the medical field is unable to help nowadays. And so we walked away. You know, she kind of thanked me. I think I made her curious, which is fine, right? Take it or leave it. I took the sign from Spirit that Diane brought up past life readings so that I could give this to her, but it was clear as day in my head. And that's kind of all I got. Although I got a picture of the place in my head, but I got to become a better artiste, my dears. And so what was so wild is that we sat down afterwards and Diana was like, that was pretty cool. And I was like, yeah, I mean, it just comes in the same way. It's kind of explaining to her how it came in. And then I go and open up my iPad, which is like it's like my records. It's like my Bible. I need my iPad. So I had my iPad I'm taking notes on all weekend. And so I open up the iPad ready to take notes for the rest of the session. And wouldn't you know, what pops up is my teaching tab. And on my teaching tab, I take notes for all the mastermind students as they read me. I take notes so I can remember what they said, go back, refer to things, etc. So what was open was a reading that Diane gave me on 5/27, so May 27th, so just over 2 months ago. And in this reading, it said, Diane, 5/7, middle-aged woman, check. You don't know her, check. Or not related to her, check. House fire, check. House fire. I remember this reading because she could see it so clearly. And I could not take a middle-aged woman that I didn't know that died in a fire. And I'm like, honestly, Diane, I don't know what this is. I said, I 100% believe that is what Spirit is telling you right now. Ding. And I can't place it right now, but I'm sure it will make sense later on. Let me write it down and I'll keep an eye on it. Here we are 2 months later. It pops up on my iPad right after we had talked to this woman. Within literal 5 minutes of us talking to this woman, it popped up as a reminder that, Diane, you already read this. You knew it was coming. And like goosebumps, right? Absolute goosebumps with this, because this is what I'm talking about with mediumship readings, is that you never, ever, ever know what is going to come through in these readings. You never know where it's going to land, because some things that come through like this, the evidence comes later. And it was so cool for me to point that out to Diane, saying, you knew about this. Spirit showed it to you 2 months before this happened. Do you trust yourself now? Like, do you trust yourself? It's not specific to Diane, but it's everybody. Do you trust yourself now? Because what Spirit brings in is always going to make sense eventually, even if it doesn't at the time. And I'm so glad I took that note. So this was the craziness of the weekend, everybody. And not only that, but like, oh my goodness, Diane ended up seeing another student from another class she had there and doing like the same thing. The woman walked by her and she's like, I know you, and stopped her. And then we got introduced. Like, it was just so wild about how all of this entire weekend went down in terms of the signs, the synchronicities, what it can look like when you trust spirit in letting them lead the way through the weekend. Because I made, oh my gosh, 5 or 6 friends. It was so cool, right? I was able to give, oh, here's the wild part. Here's kind of the wild part. 5 or 6 friends. Here we go. 6 friends. Exactly. The wild part is at the movie showing, we popped in at the very end, Diane and I, just to catch the end Q&A. I love hearing the Q&A because I always want to know what people ask. This is why I love questions, everybody. And I know this sounds really dumb or silly, or like, who would ever notice that? But we were standing in the back of this very large room, and there were 6 empty chairs in a row, face like the chairs in front of each other 6 times were open and empty. All the other chairs, people were scattered about, but there were 6 chairs in a row that were empty. And I was like, that is so weird. Normally people want to sit behind the empty chair. And the fact that there were 6 chairs in a row that were open, like, it just caught my eye, and I counted them. I said 6. There's 6 empty chairs. I wonder what that's about, because I've never actually seen that before. It caught my eye. There's a reason that it caught my eye. Kind of pointed it out to Diane, and I stored it in my big old noggin up here. There's way too much stored up there. And later, after we had been done the weekend, we got our lunch, we started walking out towards our cars to leave for the weekend. We walked down this hill. There are 6 crows on the ground. And I'm like, I wonder what is with the number 6. And as I'm driving home, the 2.5 hours it takes me to get home from Omega, Spirit hits me with a ton of bricks. They're like, how many people did you read this weekend? 6. I read 6 people this weekend. I delivered messages of love and hope and departed loved ones to 6 people this weekend. And that number 6 just keeps coming up over and over and over again since this has happened. But this is kind of the magic of letting spirit lead, is as you go about your day, as you go about your life, I don't think that signs and synchronicities are just for your departed loved ones. I think they are signs and synchronicities also from your team, letting you know this is exactly where you're supposed to be. Because I didn't know why I was there, right? And I'm still like in my mind trying to process everything. From the amazing weekend with Suzanne Geisman, I'm trying to process it all because it was so much. It was so seeing everything that I do from a completely different lens, from a completely new, refreshing, innocent, other perspectives that I'm not used to seeing when I'm sitting here by myself, isolated in my room all the time. And this is why Spirit wants me to get out more, so that I can see more perspectives, so I can help more people, and so that I can continue to spread the love and the knowledge of Spirit in ways that serve the highest and best good. So yeah, that was my crazy ass weekend at Omega that Spirit made me go to, and it was 100% worth it. And like, I can't speak enough about the workshop itself. I know I didn't go into that at all, but it was amazing to feel the energy of the room, the way that Suzanne explained the topics, which I've explained it very similarly, but just understanding and seeing the words that she uses, seeing the way that she uses her channeled team. I can't remember what they're called, begins with an S. Uses her channel team as a part of the teaching, the way that she empowers people to connect to their own departed loved ones. Like, it was so rad for me to see the way that she does it, because I do it all too, right? Like, I do it all too. And so it allowed me to really think differently about how do I expand my reach? How do I make this more tangible for people, more empowering for people who don't want to do this for clients, that they want to do this for themselves. And then how do I make this cool and fun for people that don't want to have the former Pentagon woman do it, right? Like, how do I make this cool and accessible for everybody? I don't know. I don't know. Sorry about the silent moment. Spirit was talking to me in my head, and they said the real reason that you were there was to bring the love to people who needed it most this weekend, the people that needed that perspective and awareness and that healing. And even telling the woman with the lungs story as she's walking away, I'm like, Spirit's telling you you're doing everything right. You're doing everything right. There is no wrong thing that you're doing. And being able to give her that message and be like, you are doing everything right. She was like, oh my God, thank you for that. Thank you for that. So yeah, I guess I'm going to challenge you to either, number one, if you have the time and ability, try to take a day where you are of service to Spirit and just wake up and say, I am all yours today. Take me where you want me to go. Give me messages you want me to deliver. I am here for you. I will support you. I will do whatever you say. God, they love it. They love being in control. That's a really fun activity for anyone that's really like, even if you're leaning into your intuition more and you can't connect with Spirit, like say that you're going to work through your intuition, send me the information, send me the feelings of wanting to do something, of needing to do something. Because it can lead you to some wild fucking places. And then number two, I'm going to say, look for the signs and synchronicities that you are doing the right things. Okay. The fact that, why do I tear up every time this pops up? Knock it off, Spirit. The fact that I saw the 6 empty chairs, the 6 empty chairs, the 6 crows read for 6 people. Like, that is evidence to me of why I was there. The fact that the first thing I saw when I arrived on campus was Diane walking by. That's why I was there, right? The fact that these people had found their way to me. So when Spirit didn't tell me who to sit next to, the people who needed readings found me. They sat next to me and I said, okay, let's go. Giddy up. And inevitably they brought up something that gave me an in to talk about what I did. And so that's exactly what happened. So follow and pay attention to these signs and synchronicities from Spirit that show you that you are living your purpose. You are on your path. Ask them to show you. And I don't know what that's going to look like for you. It might be messages through other people, what they are saying. Maybe I've already said something in this episode that resonates with you. Maybe it's hearing a word or a phrase for things. Maybe it's angel numbers that you look up and you're like, that's exactly what I need. I don't know, but pay attention to those signs and synchronicities because they're not just a pat on the back, a hello. They're like you're fucking doing it. Keep fucking going. And I think I'm going to end it there. So I just want to thank my amazing student, Diane. Oh my God, that was fucking ridiculous. It was so ridiculous and awesome to hang out with you. I kind of want more meet cutes like this. So I'm going to put that intention in the ethers with Spirit. And I just want to say that if you are feeling, here's my number one little nugget of gold that I want to leave you with. Because if you've listened to the story, you earned a nugget of gold. I'm so sorry about all this. But the nugget of gold that I like to say that my mentor told me channeled from Spirit, you know, it is from Spirit when you would not be doing it otherwise. I would not be going to Suzanne Geisman if Spirit didn't tell me I needed to go there. So think about the things that you do that you loathe. Let's be honest. This podcast was a creation of my team. I didn't want to do it. Look at where I am now. Now I love this. This is amazing, right? And so if you wouldn't do it by yourself otherwise, you know that it's a message from Spirit and you're following them and it's what you should be doing. So there you go. I'm going to leave that with you. Thank you. Thank you for listening to this crazy ass weekend story. Hopefully more crazy ass signs and synchronicity stories to come because this was fucking epic. All right. I love you all. I hope you have a wonderful day. Go out there and kick some ass. Sea bass. Sending you all the love.